Hidden deep inside one of the world's most studied books, there's a kind of prophetic puzzle. It's a mystery about an entire tribe that seems to have been deliberately erased from the final chapter of history. So here's the deal. In the book of Revelation, there's this sacred list of the 12 tribes of Israel, but one of them, well, it's just gone. The real question isn't just who is missing, but why. I mean, what could an entire tribe do to get written out of the final prophecy? All right, to get to the bottom of this, we've got to start right where the mystery pops up, in the book of Revelation, chapter 7. This chapter talks about this incredible moment of divine sealing, where 144,000 people from the tribes of Israel are marked for protection. Okay, so take a look at this. On the left, you've got a pretty standard list of the 12 tribes. But now, look at the list on the right, the one from Revelation 7. It's different. Look closely. The tribe of Dan is completely gone. And in its place, we see Manasseh, who was actually one of Joseph's sons. Now, this isn't some ancient typo. It's a very deliberate substitution, and it's the absolute heart of our mystery. So to figure out why Dan got the boot, we can't just hang around in Revelation. We have to rewind, all the way back to the beginning, to the book of Genesis. This is where the patriarch Jacob gives a final prophecy over each of his sons, who, would become the heads of the 12 tribes. And this is where we find our first huge clue. And wow, here it is. This is Jacob's prophecy for his son Dan. It's not about being strong or a great leader. It's really ominous and unsettling. He's called a serpent, by the way, like a hidden danger waiting to trip someone up and make them fall. This wasn't just some random insult. In the ancient world, that kind of imagery carried massive weight. Being called a serpent was pretty much the ultimate negative branding. Think about it. It's the symbol of the great deceiver from the Garden of Eden, a symbol of spiritual rebellion and working against God. So this ancient prophecy basically stamps the tribe of Dan with this identity of deceit right from the get-go. So was this just a symbolic nickname, or did the tribe of Dan actually live up to this dark reputation? Well, if you look at the historical record, it shows they didn't just carry the label of a serpent. They really, truly acted like one. Dan's fall from grace really happened in 3 stages. First, we read in the book of Judges that they straight up stole idols and a priest while on their way to conquer their new home. Then, they set up their own rival priesthood, which was a huge violation of God's law. And finally, their land became the nation's first major center for idol worship. They literally became the gateway to apostasy, the serpent in the path that tripped up the entire nation. So this all brings us to a really simple but powerful equation. On one hand, you have Dan's prophetic identity as the serpent. Then you add their historical actions as the ones who led the people into idolatry. And that combination, well, it doesn't just go away. It leads directly to a consequence. And that brings us full circle, right back to the book of Revelation and that very curious list. Once you have the clues from Genesis and Judges, the silence around Dan starts to make a whole lot of sense. You see, it's not some accident. It's a theological statement. So here's the bottom line, the conclusion that many theologians and scholars have landed on. Dan's prophetic identity as the serpent, combined with their historical role as the instigators of idolatry, it all resulted in their disqualification. In a list of those being divinely sealed and protected, the one tribe that symbolized deception was deliberately and pointedly removed. But wait, the story doesn't quite end there. The mystery of why Dan was left out led to another, even more dramatic belief that grew over the next few centuries. A tradition that takes Dan's serpent identity to its ultimate and kind of terrifying conclusion. What's so fascinating here is how early Christian thinkers took this biblical mystery and just ran with it. Guys like Irenaeus, way back in the 2nd century, they looked at all the evidence, the serpent prophecy, the idolatry, the omission from Revelation, and they came to a startling conclusion. The ultimate deceiver, the Antichrist, would have to come from the tribe of the serpent, the tribe of Dan. Now, it's really important to note this is a tradition, not explicit scripture, but it just goes to show how seriously people took Dan's negative portrayal. And all of this leaves us with one final, very provocative question. Is the story of Dan's disappearance from Revelation just a symbolic warning about the past? A story about how embracing an identity of deception can literally get you written out of the story? Or could it be, as some of those ancient traditions held, a literal prophecy about a future that's still waiting to unfold? That, right there, is the enduring power of this prophetic mystery.